Hello, Përshëndetje, I'm Alice Taylor, and today I'm in the beautiful city of Gjirokaster, about 3 hours south of the capital of Tirana. Otherwise known as the Stone City, this is a place of immense history with old Ottoman-style houses perched along the hillside, reaching up to the top of the mountain, with a historic castle with so much history in every single cobblestone. But I'm here today for a very, very specific reason, and that is because I want to retrace the footsteps of Musine Kokalari. Now, Musine Kokalari was one of Albania's, if not Albania's, first woman poet, author, writer. She was someone who discussed political thought. She was founder of a social democratic party which went against the Communist Party before they came to power. She was an activist, an intellectual, and an inspiration for generations of Albanian women. Today, I am here at Memorial Musine Kokalari. Now, this was a house belonging to the Kokalari family, and today it's being opened to the public, and it has an exhibition inside which chronicles her writings, her work, her story, her history, her photos, everything in one place. What better place to retrace her footsteps and her life than starting here in the home she lived in from the age of 3 years old.
Përshëndetje, Arieta. Të lutem shpjegoj pak për lidhja familjare dhe Musine Kokalari, sepse ka emër Kokalari, edhe për shtëpia edhe muzeu.
Kjo është shtëpia e familjes Kokalari sot. Por I pari I kësaj shtëpie, prej familjes tonë, ka qenë Tahir Agai, Tahir Kokalari. Tahiri ishte babai I gjyshit të Musinesë. Ai kishte 4 djem. I pari djalë ishte Hamiti I parë, gjyshi I Musine Kokalarit, dhe një nga djemtë e tjerë ishte stërgjyshim Tasin Kokalari. Kjo është pra lidhja që unë kam me familjen e Musinesë. Unë kam ndeshur për herë të parë emrin e Musine Kokalarit kur kam qenë 15 vjeç. Dhe është koha kur njeriu fillon të ndërtoj vetveten. Dhe të takoja një personazh kaq të jashtëzakonshëm si Musine Kokalari në atë moment të jetës time, ka ndikuar shumë edhe në rritjen time, edhe në formimin tim. Por ishte një kohë e vështirë dhe Musineja nuk ishte një personazh I njohur, të themi. Emri I saj nuk flitej kur. Dhe unë duke lexuar librat e saj apo shënimet e saj, veçanërisht shënimin që ka bërë në përmbyllje të librit Sa u tund jeta, jam befasuar nga bota e kësaj gruaje, e kësaj vajze, e cila kishte mendime kaq përparimtare dhe ishte dhe dinte aq mirë t'i shprehte ato. Në atë që e njohun Musinen, mendoj se ajo që ka ndikuar, sigurisht ishin aftësitë e saj personale, por kanë qenë edhe 2 nxitës të Musinesë. E para, ajo vinte nga një familje shumë e emancipuar, shumë e përparuar, shumë demokrate, intelektuale, të cilët e nxisnin, ishte fëmia më I vogël I familjes dhe kishte një diferencë shumë të madhe në moshë me të vëllezrit. Dhe kjo bënte që ata ishin jo vetëm vëllezër dhe shok për të po të ishin në një farë mënyrë dhe kujtestar. E dyta ishte edukimi I saj. Edukimi I saj arsimor. Musineja ishte dashuruar me librat, që në moshë të hershme, dhe vazhdoi ta kishte këtë dashuri për librat dhe për të mësuarit e gjërave të reja gjatë gjithë jetës.
Nuk ka shkruar me edukate të shkruar libri, poezimi.
Musine Kokalari për këtë është e veçantë dhe duhet të jetë një shembull. Një shembull frymëzues dhe është realisht, sepse nga përvoja ime shumë vjeçare, që kam në veprimtari të ndryshme për ta bërë të njohur personalitetin e saj, vërej që me njëherë Musineja dashurohet nga kushdo që arrin ta njohë sa do pak, ta preki personalitetin e saj, të njihet pak me të, me njëherë dashurohet pas këtij njeriu. Ishte e para ishte e para në shumë gjëra. Ishte nga të parat vajzaj që u doktorua. Dhe kjo ndodhte në një kohë kur Shqipëria ishte një vend patriarkal dhe jo vetëm kaq, por ishte edhe një vend shumë i parsimuar. Sipas statistikave të kohës, 80% e popullsisë në Shqipëri ishin analfabet. Dhe të mendosh që në këtë mjedis analfabet, Musine jo vetëm që bënte pjesë në atë 20% të njerëzve të arsimuar, po ishte nga të paktat gra dhe jo thjesht të arsimuara, po që arriti nivelin më të lartë të edukimit. Ajo mbrojti në Universitetin La Sapienza, që vazhdon të jetë edhe sot një universitet prestigjioz në Itali, doktoraturën me temën mbi jetën dhe veprën e Najm Frashërit.
What do you think of the exhibit to see, and what's your general impression of Musine? How would you describe it?
I'm very happy to have learned about Musine. A few weeks ago, I didn't know so much. Then I read about it. Now I visited this museum. It's a fantastic, extraordinary person, first of all. Renaissance person, progressive, fantastic woman. Also a pioneer as a woman, I think, as the first author who got published, the first intellectual woman from Albania. But also her ideas were very modern. And I wish more people listened to her in the 1940s than did. So if they would have, Albania would have been different, I think.
Musine is one of the figures, not only because she was a Gjirokaster, but because she is one, let's say, of the unique females of that time, but the one that she inspires people even today. So since then, the first idea was to have a space dedicated to Musine Kokalari. Of course, it took a lot of time until we get the funds, we create the project, we find the right people to work for it. But finally, we are here today in this space that Musine talks with her words about herself, and people get to know her and can explore about her later. She has been always talking about the freedom of women, about democracy, about the freedom of speech. So it is, of course, an inspiration even today, and people should know about it. We need it today, yeah, we need it even today. So this is, I think, let's say, the messages that people should take from this place.
Her political opinions do not amount to anything political until 1943 summer. But all her writing in 1937, which were published by the Stupi newspaper, a left-wing newspaper at that time, was also political, if you know what I mean, because she always raised the issues of women's isolation, women's having not voice, women's being looked down by the society, the family, sold and bought in most of the cases. In 1943 in summer, she sadly makes this switch. She wants to form a political party. There is no date in her notes, and there is no date anywhere else. She approaches Nejmiye Hoxha, Nejmiye Gjuglini back then, which was the fiancé of Enver Hoxha. And she suggests that we form another party and become part of the anti-fascist front. Nejmiye Hoxha completely, ignored her suggestion and refused. She said, we don't need another party now. We need to focus on the war. Musine went another front at that time, which is part of the anti-fascist front, was Mithat Prashari leading the political organization Bali. But Mithat Prashari also was not happy with the idea that she wanted to create another party. Then she approached two other men. One of them was Skander Mocha, another lawyer qualified in France. And at the time, he was a regional leader of Blora, of the nationalist organization. And Selman Reza, a Kosovan who was a professor, to form the Social Democratic Party. So they agreed. And I have a date. The Social Democratic Party was created on 12th of October 1943. She set up the Voice of Freedom newspaper in January, and the first article she published, or the first print, was in 1st of February 1944, where the manifesto of the Social Democratic Party was published.
Tucked away down a little back street in the centre of Tirana, not far from the Air Albania Stadium, is the Kokalari family home, where Musine stayed for about a year in the mid-40s. Musine left Gjirokaster in the 30s with the rest of the family, and she went to study in Italy. And upon her return, she came back to this house, correct?
Yes, I mean, they came in late 20s from Turkey to Gjirokaster, and then maybe 33, 34, all the family came to Tirana. After the high school, this Institute Tirana Mretresh, Musine went to Italy, and then when she came back in 1945, she came here, living here for a while, until she got arrested.
What happened to the house at that time?
At that time, after her arrest, a little bit later, the family was kicked out from the house altogether because they were living at that time all together. They were kicked out of house, and then they were somehow scattered. Some in the basement. I mean, the basement story started in 46.
So she came here, and she was here for about a year before she was arrested. What led up to her arrest? And
well, let's say her group, talking about it, was discovered. A lot of her friends, other men, mainly men, only men, were arrested. So she knew she was going to be arrested as well.
was she afraid? Do we know if she was, or she was resigned to what was going to happen?
I don't think she was. Maybe she was afraid of being arrested, but not resigned, because she was still convinced to be on the right side, and she was still convinced that she had done nothing wrong. Basically, she had done nothing wrong, because
Yes, she hadn't.
The party which she created was not illegal at the time.
Was it?
Yes. And on this side, there was an enormous library, completely full of books and everything.
Stacked correctly.
Of course, yes, all stacked correctly. And there was a big library, and then they had sofas and everything, but actually the library itself remained here. They couldn't take it away. This side here was a complete balcony. I mean, people who have covered it, but this was complete balcony from the beginning till the end. There was a balcony here. They have now a terrace, large terrace. Yes, right.
What do we know about the day, the night that she was arrested here?
Well, it was during daytime, and because my aunt explains that, has told me that when she was coming back from school, she saw there in the yard a lot of people, military dress and all this thing, and then my grandmother asked her to go and embrace her aunt because she is being taken away.
From the moment she was arrested, how long was it before the family were allowed any contact with her or to see her?
Well, I know that they have seen her after my great-grandfather was dead. I think it was not allowed to meet people before the trial. So after the trial, I think she met them all.
Trial is very interesting. I think probably I would say her defiance and her stand in the trial is a very unique one. And probably you wouldn't, I mean, I have read a lot of Russian literature and Eastern Europe literature and anti-communists and people in show trials. And there is nothing like her, really, her defense and her stand in. She won't compromise. She had no fears, even though she feared that she would be executed. She refused to answer court's questions. Although she accepted their authority, she, when they asked the president judge, Frederick Nossi, asked if she was pleading guilty, she said, according to your logic, I am guilty, but according to mine, I am not guilty. It's very interesting, her last day in court, she dresses in that picture, that iconic picture that is everywhere now, with her veil and pinned with her hairpins. It is very interesting that they let her use hairpins because all those things are considered dangerous items. But someone was nice to her, so let her to put the hairpins on a black veil hanging over her shoulders. She started reading her defense, explaining what actually she did and what was the intention of forming an opposition front. She was trying to tell them that there was no intention of them overthrowing the government. Even if they wanted to, they couldn't do it. They didn't practically could not do it. They snatched her defense from her hands, but luckily they saved it. They didn't destroy it. So we have her defense is in her secret police file. And she said to them, with me, you are sentencing the Albanian Renaissance. And she told them also that because you won the war, you don't love your country, you don't love the country more than I do. One of her co-defendants, he was the youngest, he was Social Democrat, but the name will come back now, Reis Hasha. He says she had no fear whatsoever what happened in those 2 weeks in the court in Tirana. She was very encouraging and she was prepared to die, actually. In the end, she said to him, in the end, we will triumph, and it's nothing we can do at the moment. There is not a lot of information from her. She makes reference to in her notes, but very briefly. But I have done a lot of research and the people who have spent time with her in Burrell. But it's very interesting to not jump from 1946, 23rd of January to August 1949 that she was transferred to Burrell, because there is not much known about those years she spent in Tirana prison also. But I have managed to get some information, so I have a narrative. She was one of, again, very influential in Tirana prisons, in Tirana prison. And the good thing being in Tirana for her was that her poor mother went to see her every time possible. But also, for 1 year at least, between 1947 and 1948, she was kept in isolation. A cell with no light and one blanket. Summer and winter. But in August 1949, she was transferred to Burrell. In Burrell, she's very influential. She says that one of the letters, we have only one letter that has survived over 70 years now. She sends to her brother Hamid and her mother in Tirana. So the letter never reached the addressees anyway. In that letter, on the half top, she asked Hamid to send some a list of the books that she could read. And the letter is dated in 23rd of November 1949. In the letter, she tells him that I am here, I can see the sun, I can see the snow. Sometimes I feel I am at school and teaching. She doesn't say what she's teaching, who she's teaching, but she says that. So she had access to the window, so she could see outside. Also, there are some memoirs of other women who spent time with her in Burrell, that she was very nice and very helpful to women, very supportive. She had one thing she wouldn't tolerate: spying. In Burrell, also, she had a good relationship with one of the guards. She mentions that in her memoirs. And one of the guards were kind to her. Even he went out to buy vitamins for her in Burrell city and brought them to her in prison. So she managed to have sort of a life, even with those awful surroundings, even with, buried in a concrete tomb. So she was in Burrell from August 1949 to spring 1952. So it's 2 years, so it's about 30 months. She has been punished for supporting women, supporting other young women, telling them the rights they had within the prisons, helping them to write letters. So she has been punished for that. She also had a contact from one of her co-defendants in Burrell, his name is Gjirokaster. He was an education minister in 1945, part of Hoxha's government. He tried to contact her and to tell her to learn the Morse alphabet, but she does not expand whether she learned the alphabet or whether she managed to contact Gjirokaster, if she managed to say goodbye to him when she was transferred back to Tirana. That's all she says.
I'm now in the town of Rrëshen in the north of Albania, about an hour and a half's drive from Tirana. Today, Rrëshen, it's a small place. It has brightly coloured buildings, shops, cafes, lovely pedestrianised areas. But in the time of Musine, it would have been hours and hours and hours of travel on a very rocky, dangerous road. It was cut off from the rest of the country. It wouldn't have had much in the way of facilities or anything else. And this is where Musine was sent to pay her price, her debt to society for the supposed crimes that she'd committed. She was cut off from the world here. She was made to live in a very, very small shack, hut of some kind. And this is where she spent many years before she died. So our first stop in Rrëshen is the Palace of Culture, which was built in 1970. It is home to a library where Musine would come every single day to read, not to write, she wasn't allowed, but to spend a lot of her time. We're here with the former director, as well as Linda, to find out a bit more about her time here. Tu është librari Musine dhe çdo ditë.
Një nga stacionet kryesore të Musinesë pas punës në Llaç, po kemi parasysh në Llaç, një shkrimtare e fshuar, gjitha mund t'i them, gjente qetësinë pikërisht tek librat dhe kinemaja. Një gru që pas punës kishte vërtet imazhin aristokratik. Dhe nuk është sepse ishte thjesht për dukje, për fasadë, po sepse së brendshmi ajo e jetoi qytetin e Rrëshenit. Edhe përmes atij përshkrimit jashtëzakonshëm që kishte, dhimbja më e madhe e saj ishte pikërisht mungesa e informacionit. Dhe mundoi ta plotësonte sepse nuk ishte Tirana. Nuk ishte një qytet i madh, por një qytet i vogël. Në kontakti i parë i saj, besoj që kurse ka ardhur ditën e parë, të dytën paktën ka ardhur këtu. Tu ka qenë vendi i sketave ku që jepi libri dhe bënte kërkesa për libra që ishin këtu. Dhe shpeshherë librat për Musine vinin edhe në gjuhë për kaq sa lejoshin për kohën, por vinin nga Tirana. Musineja kryesisht ka qenë dhënë pas librit artistik më shumë se sa libri. Nuk lexonte veprat e kohës Musineja, por lexonte librin artistik, librat studitor që ishin. Se ato donte të furnizohet, të mos ishte thjesht një e internuar e arketipit llashit.
Tani është qendër kollëtore e fëmijëve në Rdita, po në kohë Musine çfarë është?
Në kohën e Musinesë ka qenë kinemaja e qytetit. Ishte një nga vendet ku Musineja shpirtërisht sadopak në atë kohë të zymë, shpirtërisht ndjehej më mirë se në asnjë vend. Qoftë edhe kur vinte në për qytet, kur bënda ato gjirot e veta, që bënte gjirot rreth nga rruga që është në hyrje qytetit, gjithmonë e dinte që ishte survejuar. Vetmi vend ku nuk kishte survejim, ishte ky, kinemaja. Se kinemaja ishin kalamaj, ishin fëmijë të vegjël. Dhe kur vinte ajo shihte edhe filma, çdo film i ri që vinte ajo shihte. Ndonjëherë vinte shihte 2 herë. Dhe pse vinte shihte 2 herë? Sa herë që vinte, fëmijët e vegjël, si që janë ta, për ja ku i kemi fëmijët tu, si që janë ta, nuk kishin bileta me hyrë mbrana, nuk kishin para me hyrë mbrana. Dhe ajo ndante nga ato kacilët e veta, i ndonte asnjëherë nuk hynte me një biletë. Shihte 5-6 fëmijë, edhe i merrte, atje ka qenë sporteli dhe blente biletat, edhe futeshin fëmijët.
Do we know as well when she was here? I mean, obviously because she had been in prison, people would have not wanted to be seen or associated with her closely. Did she have any friends here? Was there anyone she could spend time with, or was she completely sort of cut off other than hello, good morning, etc.?
Yeah, I think there was a family which was here, Gjirokaster was the surname, and the old lady I have met a long time ago was called Perna Gjirokaster, and her kids, her children. And in the file also, it's written somewhere regarding this thing, that they were working there, then Musine came, she talked something very fast, and then she left. And then the order is next time, you find out what they say, okay? Yeah. You understand? She goes there and talks with one of these girls there, and then it's immediately reported.
Now, this is the police station. She had to come here. How often was she coming here?
2 times per day, they say. Morning and evening.
Just to sign?
Just to sign.
Why?
Because to make sure that she was not moving, was not going elsewhere, I believe. I don't know, but this was just to keep people under pressure.
So this woman, she was in internment, she was isolated, she had 20 people, at least 20 people watching her, reporting on her, and she had to come here and sign twice a day.
Yes.
I mean, that's a mental torture, isn't it?
It's a mental torture. That's why I say she's so exceptional as a person, because who can survive that without losing the dignity in the end, without losing the dignity, with dressing her best dress and going around and go to the library and telling them, okay, I'm here.
And still
you have not done anything to me.
Këtu përpara është në shtëpia Musine Kokalari, po si është shtëpia? Është e madhe, vogël, është druri, gur, si është shtëpia?
Ato kanë qenë disa baraka që bëheshin për shpejt. Dhe çdo gjë atë mund të futshe as qemente jo, se do binte shi mbi të. Mund të futshe gjëra të tjera, por jo që të jetonin njerëz. Ato baraka kanë qenë unë paktën e mbaj mend, domethënë, e mbaj mend. Dhe kam thënë nuk ka mundësi që të ketë jetu njëri këtu. Dhe aty ku ka jetu Musineja ka qenë një skëterë vërtet. Gjysma shiut bide mrena, shpeshherë binte mbi krevat, kur fryeshin këto proj, një pru aty për te, proj tjetër këtej më radh, dhe e mbushte këtë, dhe shpeshherë mbushej me ujë. Pra dhe uji mbushej edhe shtëpia, domethënë mbushej me ujë. Pra, ore ndihet deri tek 2 shekuj e tjerë, pra ka bërë një jetë që nuk e di se si mund të jetoj, sinqerisht nuk mund ta mendoj si. Pra nga llaçi, puna e vështirë, e lodhshme e tjerë më radh, dhe të vinte edhe bora ndimër, edhe i ftohti që ishte, sepse më para dimrat ishin më kështu, ishin më të ashpër. Dhe normal që të gjitha kanë ndikuar që t'i vijë smunja, sepse nuk, okej, stresi e gjitha këto tjera, por kanë ndikuar dhe jeta që ka bërë këtu.
Po shtëpia nuk ekziston tani, për sa vjet përpara është mbyllë prishe?
Shiko, pas disa vitesh, po para vitit 90, po them nga vitin 1986, 87 shu, tu ka qenë, pasi u shtun dhe disa barake të tjera, dhe u bën një kamp i vogël me ishte burgosur. Po, me ishte burgosur të cilët kanë ndërtuar qytetin. Po ishin burgosur ordiner, kryesisht, dhe pra këtu, e bon këtu. Gjetën vendin këtu, si i marrin të izoluar, dhe këta dilin me rojet e vetë që kishte dhe dilin punonin atje. Pastaj pasi hiku dhe mbaroi kjo pjesa e qytetit me këta, në atë moment filluan u prishën dhe këto, pas 90-s, po besoj deri afër 90-s ka qenë baraka e Musinesë. Tashmë kemi vetëm imazh fotografik dhe filmik.
Her life within 5 years until the exile time period expired, it is hell on earth. But it's not as it was not as bad as being in prison. She had no guards, at least she could walk freely, she could go to work, she could go to the shops, buy whatever she could. The poverty, she just bought nothing for pleasure ever until the day she died. She says in her memoirs, she describes the conditions they lived, the poverty, the cold, the lack of food, the lack of warmth, no water. She read a book, always was seen with a book in the communal garden of Rrëshen. But even then, the police will observe her, and they will send children to see what book she was reading, and the children had to report back. Because she was a woman, because she was on her own, because she had no children, because she had not a man to protect her. She dressed in black or dark colors. She was considered sort of a witch.
So you told me a story about when you were younger and Musine came to the house and she was asking you about your exam results.
Yes. Yeah, she was asking about my exams, and I had some 9s there, not all 10 when
You have to get 10?
You have to get 10, yes, okay. And then I was saying, yes, okay, it's a 9, but it's not important, it's not going to register. She said, but why 9? And she has a soft, nice voice. So she was very, very careful, checking our books, reading them, looking how they are made. And she was very, very interested in all this thing, very curious, I would say.
What else do you remember about her character, personality?
Well, I can remember the face. I remember the eyes. The eyes was eyes of a very, very nice person. You could see that.
So she was observed like she was so powerful that she was able to overthrow Hoxha's regime. Personally, I think his hatred started properly with the family, with her family. In Gjirokaster, her house is higher than Hoxha's, was bigger than Hoxha's. Her brothers who were teachers, they were doing very well, so they were part of Gjirokaster. But do you know the fact that they are cousins on both sides? Hoxha's mother and Musine's mother are first cousins. In the south, first cousins are considered sisters. Also, they're cousins from the father's side. I don't think it was outside his nature to do what he did to Musine's family and Musine personally. He was capable of hatred, personal hatred, political hatred. but he most of all must have hated her idea of liberal democracy.